Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is number 2 in the build series of the Stealth Fighter. So what we're doing here today, we're going to show you how we're going to cut out our pattern. Now, we don't need to cut anything off of here. This is all for reference, but we do need to cut out our wing shape. Now, we're not going to worry about the elevons for now. This will be a separate piece that we will cut out, and then we will add it on later. But right now what we need to cut out is this whole perimeter down through here to the halfway mark, and then we're going to cut that in half, and we're going to cut out our area that's coming out for the propeller. So we're going to show you how to do that. Then we'll transfer that onto the foam board and we'll cut that out. So first cut we're going to make, we're going to come down here. It doesn't matter, you can cut this in half if you want to. In fact, let's just do that just to make it easier. With room we can get rid of the top part of it. So we go right on our line, right there. We're going to try to get as close into that line as possible. That way we're good with where we're going to go. We're going to take our blade and we're just going to cut right on down that line. Not putting any pressure to the side because we don't want anything to move. So we've done that right. We have cleared that from our pattern. We'll come down here, just trim that off, and we're left with that. The other piece we don't need anymore. Now we're to here. From here, I'm actually going to sit down for this. Sorry about that noise. Much easier for me to work like this. So we're going to do our long cuts first. Come straight on down. Sorry if my head gets in the way. I understand I got a big head. And we're going to make our next cut. Come on down and just score on right on through the paper, cut it out, and right on. Boom. Come here, cut that off. Get rid of that piece of paper. We're getting closer and closer. So from here, where do we go? Let's go ahead and cut the nose section. Try to get this in the camera. Come on down, get that right. Sorry again if my head gets in the way. Holding our piece of paper so it doesn't move on us. And we cut that away. We're almost there. And down here, we're going to cut this line. Sorry, I got to get my head in to make sure I'm on my line. And we're just going to make that cut straight on through. Well, missed a little bit. Not a big deal. I can cut straight, so I don't have to worry. There's also a little score line to help. Now with cuts, this is the same with foam. Don't cut this way into it, and the same with that. Always cut from that corner out. Makes nice, cleaner cuts. So we're going to cut this line right here, right on that. Come on down, find our mark, cut out. Come to the next area here. Right onto that line, just like so. Come to that corner, press it down, and just cut. That should release our elevon. Now, we're keeping this because this will be our pattern for the elevons when we go to do it. We'll cut all the rest of that out when it comes that time in that build video. Come across here, we're going to come down now, we're going to cut our last little cut on the outside edges. And right onto that, make that cut, get rid of that piece. Next we got to cut out our center section. So again, right onto that line where we want it, where that corner cut outward. Over here, get onto our line, and that corner cut outward. Alright, now we got these little lines in here. I'm just going to cut it this way. You could use a ruler if you want to. I trust my cutting skills to cut straight lines. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut that And there we have it. That will be one side of our wing. From here, we go ahead and we take our foam board. Now, we've done this right. This should be 20 inches, which it is. It's perfect. Right in where we want it. So, for this, we're going to flip this over. And what we're going to do, sorry about this, I'm getting off the, sorry if that bumped it. Take some blue tape, just low tack painter's tape. We're going to get my head in the way and get our design right where we want it. Moved a little bit. And I'm going to come a little off that edge. I'm going to use that. Good there. And we're going to lay this right down. So now it won't move. And that's very key when you're trying to do this. We're trying to get exact measurements. We want this to hit nice. So get our pen. Sometimes these pens don't write, so I like to make sure they get them going. You can use a Sharpie, you can use pencil. I'm using Sharpie for this demonstration so you can see what is happening. So the first thing I'm going to do is come in and I'm going to mark our center and come right up to that edge. Right over. Again, this paper is going to come off anyway, so if you go past it, it doesn't matter. It's not a big deal. As you do this, always secure the area that you're planning on tracing. This we're come straight off the edge because I lined that up. Straight over to here. Come over, hit this one, like so. This is just easy peasy. A little at a time. It's okay to stop, press down that pattern. Make sure you're getting it all the way. Just like so. Okay, now you could mark the centers and that would be fine. One of the great parts about taping is now we can just fold this over like this and it stays right on that center line. If you see a little blue tape like I'm seeing there showing through, just push in until you don't see that blue tape anymore. And that gives you it right on the center. Press that down a bit. Now, I'm a little worried about things moving. I'm going to take a weight and put a weight down on there. Now everything's good, secure. We continue drawing our points. I'll go with the center again. Pen's not marking, there we go. And then here, turn this so you can see. Just tracing that center mark. So that's now good, ready to go. We're going to come off this way, start tracing the rest of our wing design. Come on down. It's going to transfer here. Starting at the corner, come out. Down to here, finally, and down. So we've traced everything out. Take our weight away. And we can now take our pattern and remove it. Let's take the blue tape off so we can use this again. I always save my patterns. If the plane doesn't fly the way I hope it will, I can always come through and make changes, but I keep the patterns so I can make it again. Especially if things work, or I can add on to the pattern. So from here, we're now going to cut this piece out. Make sure you get a nice sharp blade. Mine is not, so I'm going to change that right now. Get a fresh blade here. Nice, fresh, clean blade. Anytime you're cutting out foam, you want to make sure you have a nice, clean, fresh blade. For cutting out, I do like to have this bigger. It's got more of an edge to it than the other ruler. You see this one is thinner, more flexible. The thicker one, I feel, it allows me to lay the the blade right on it, keeps that 90-degree angle that we want when we're cutting this out. So we're going to cut all this out. We're going to save all these extra pieces because they're going to make the next pieces that we're going to use. So we come right down on that line, just like so. So we just see nothing but that line. And we're going to make our first cut. Again, angled down this way helps keep a nice straight cut. It rides along the ruler very, very nice, and it stops from creating bunches and tear outs in your foam. So we're just going to come through, and again, we're not worried if we don't get through in one. We're just going to come back across, and we'll cut it as many times as we need to until this piece releases, just like that. So again, we're saving this piece. That's going to the side. Next, we're going to release this edge. And actually, to keep in with everything, I like to try to cut on the inside part of these lines. So they get a little bit wavy sometimes. It also makes sure that I am getting here, cutting the right part. So if I do get a cut out, if I happen to swing out, I'm not cutting into the piece that I want, I'm cutting outside of that. So right on our line, I think that's good. I'm happy with that. And we're going to push down in, and we're going to come across. Making sure that we don't hit our fingers as we do this. You don't want to trim off a piece of finger. Alright, so it's not quite released yet because we have this cut. So we'll turn this around. Keep it this way. Keep it flat. We're going to cut onto this line. Get ourselves lined up. Press down in. Keeping that 90-degree angle. And there. Here, I've already got my cut, so I'm just going to trim it right off. Now let's just get that big bulky piece out of the way, and we're left with just what we're ready to cut out here. So get this trimmed. I understand some of these build videos are not very entertaining. I feel like I have to continuously talk to keep you entertained as I'm doing this. Now, we're cutting these out. Remember, again, we're not cutting from here over. We're going to start in that corner and we're going to cut outward. Again, keeps that corner nice, crisp, and clean. So, down onto here. The other thing with cutting on the inside of it is you can see where that line starts and stops. So that definitely helps when you're cutting out. Right on that line, press down, and drag out. We'll do it a second time just to make sure. Now, can't always get on the inside. Sometimes you have to go to the outside. Now, in this, I'm cutting off that black line. So for this, it's really important to get as close onto that black line as possible to cut off things. So you're cutting off the line. And press down and gently come across and make a second cut just to make sure, and that should free that piece. Again, we're saving all this. This can be used for some of the lower fins that we're going to make, and so we're going to keep that. Use that. I keep all my scraps because I feel that they're all useful. I can see with this, as I'm lining this up, this is supposed to be a straight cut. Got a little extra right here. So I'll come back and I'll trim that when I go, when we go back to this, just to make sure everything is good. Again, trying to cut that line off, go to the corner, and come out. Into that corner, press down, and come out. Right on into our line, settle into that corner, pull out. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and true this up. I'm going to turn this over because these are supposed to be nice flat lines. It doesn't show as bad on this side, so I think we're all right. I think it's just a visual looks funny. Okay. So this cut we need to be very careful with. We don't want to go outside of this, and I'm going to show you my cut technique. You can see this dips in a little bit. We're not concerned with that. We want it to be straight from this line to that line. We're not even going to consider that. So right onto those 2 points. Oops. There we go. Got that. Just the black line showing. We're going to push into this corner and we're going to come across and we're going to stop right short of that. Not going into that, just short of it. Make sure that that line is cut. Then we're going to turn the piece around and I'm going to come in to that point and just pull. And this is going to clean up, make sure that that's a good clean point right here. Come around it. So this is a compound cut. We're going to go and do this next. Again, always stopping short when we're coming up to keeping this nice and clean. We don't want to cut past it. That creates weak points, and we don't want that in this design. So we come across and we stop short. Across, stop short. And now go over to here. Our line is right there, so we'll press in and just make sure that that's nice and clean. Same with this line. I need to do this. Come this way. We have cut this one. Haven't cut this yet. Sometimes when I move things around, I have a tendency to forget, which line did I cut? Push in, come down, stop short. In, stop short. Take our piece. Around, come into there, and just clean that corner nice up. If everything's gone well, you can always check on this side and make sure you've cut through it, which we have. It's all good. Now we're going to cut these. You can use the ruler if you want to. Again, I trust myself with a razor blade, so I'm going to press down. I'm going to come in and I'm going to make a cut here. My cut here. Turn this for a second. Come back in and clean that edge up. And that should be free, which it is. You can see it's wiggling. And we're going to do the same over here. Come in from that. Come across. Lift a little bit. Come over here. Cut across right on the outside of that line. Come up. Turn it. And we're going to clean this corner up, making sure we've punched all the way through. Now, if everything's gone well, this should just pop right out, which it will. Here we go. And we have our wing. Now that's ready to start adding pieces onto it. But before we do that, we go back to our pattern here, and there's certain things we want to transfer, certain points all along this. I'm going to sit down again. So we know our center line's there. We've got a few little places to get this centered up right onto there. Nice and even. Everything looks good. We're a little longer in the front, but that won't matter. Just make sure that we note that when we're making the pieces on the end here, that we're just that little bit longer. I'm more concerned that it's all straight there. All right. That looks good. I'm gonna tape. And I'm going to tape it in place. And I'll show you why I'm taping this in place. I don't want it to move. So, everything's lined up good. But I need to make some reference marks. So going back to our Sharpie, again, I'm taking a scrap piece, make sure that it writes. Alright. This I won't need because we're going to have a piece that goes there. So I do want to mark where this piece will come over here. So I'm going to go right to where that is there. I'm going to look down the side and I'm going to make a little mark on my foam like that. So that tells me where this piece will come to. Very, very important. Other than that, I need to figure out how am I going to mark where this goes. I know it's going to match up here on this point. This line is going to come down. This is my triangular fuselage. But the question now is, how do I get this point? Okay, I'm going to mark along here. That's where the fuselage will end. But how do I get this? So, if I can find it, I can't, but I'm just going to grab something really small. In this case, I'm using an Allen wrench. Use a pin. You can use, actually I've got some over here. This will be better. Thin wire. And I'm going to go right to this corner, right where it's at. And I'm going to make a small hole. And that small hole now gives me a reference mark when I put this to where that is. Now, I can fold this over if everything lines up like it is. I'm just making sure everything's good. I've got my hole marked here. I'm just going to poke right through that same hole. And now I've got my two reference marks as to where that fuselage will stop. Super important to know that because it's inside, and that's how you can get an inside dimension. With these, I don't need to mark it because this will be an under part. I'm keeping this, of course, to make sure I can get my measurements to make this piece. My hope is, obviously, this will be a piece that comes here, matches here, and then this will be hopefully a score line and a fold up so that it keeps this as one big piece with both the fold ups on it, and that should keep it really strong versus trying to match two pieces together and glue them. It's not as strong a joint as keeping it all one piece like that. So that's the hope. So along with this, the other thing I want to mark, and this is just easier now, I know this is a straight line to this center line. I want to keep this fin straight. I don't need to mark here, but I need this point and that point to keep me a straight line on both of these. So when I glue those in, I know exactly where this back edge is going to hit or needs to hit to keep it straight. If they're angled a little bit, it creates a different movement of the wind. Keeping them straight makes the plane track straight. If one is straight and one is off, well, that acts like a rudder, and it's going to create yaw in the plane. We don't want that. So again, we want to make sure everything's dead on, so we're going to poke through here, come over to here, and poke through there. It gives us our two reference holes. Again, we're coming through making sure our pattern is trued up to all the edges. And then we're just going to come right back through those holes and make our marks. These are our marks. I believe that's everything that we need. The beauty of this overhang is it's going to hide a lot of the motor, make it look cleaner in a lot of different ways, and we'll deal with the fuselage part of that once we get to that. So we'll peel this off and take the tape off. We don't want it sitting on there if we need to come back for any reason to reference. And now what we've got is our marks. I could go through and mark these, but it's not going to help because we're going to peel this paper off when we start to glue other things to our wing surface. So as we can see here, sorry about that, we're going to go down to here, and actually we must have been under 7 inches on our wingspan, because it looks like we are 13, a little more than 13 and a half on our wingspan. So it actually will come out once we put our elevons on. We count in our elevons, that's going to kick us over to about there, and a little bit out, so it'll be 14 from the tips out there, which is great. We're happy with that. 14 will be fine. Now we've got plenty of extra foam board to continue making the pieces, but for right now, this is our set thing. These holes also help tell us where top is. So I will have to, because I need these marks on the bottom, come back in and make sure that I'm exactly even. I'm going to take this, I got to take this to, well, I'll put it up here. Just making sure that I'm nice and even as I come poking through. Level, double check and push through. Try not to poke your finger. That gives us our reference marks down here, which we need. We don't need to push these through because that's a top reference. Other than that, I believe we're done with the wing. So from here, we'll just keep adding on and building and moving forward with the build. So hopefully you enjoyed this. This is build video number 2. In the first one, we went over the design, what in theory we're doing, why we're doing it, and so now we've gone through, we've cut the wing out, and we'll see you in the next video. Go make it, folks. You can do it. I have faith in you. Try it, fail it, try it again, or try it, succeed, and bask in that glory. Till then, have a wonderful day. We'll see you on the next video.